So imagine that we need to create a dynamic list, but it has to be very low tech or very easy to work with. So we have this column of data and we have repeating items, and we want to make a drop down list over here that when we click on it, we can select any of the countries or any of the items in this list. So everything is listed here only once from this original column of data. And also, we want it to be very easy to update. So if we jump to the bottom, we add some more data, something new that we haven't seen before above. When we get back to the top and we go in here, we should see that item. And on top of that, we have to also include the word all as an option. So let's say here we select Brazil, and we see the formulas update based off of our selection. Here we want to be able to select the word all, and this will calculate and show us the stats for all of the data. So given all these restrictions, let's try to think of a solution. So my idea has a few steps, but in the end it would be relatively easy to work with for someone with low Excel skills. So number one, we're going to say step one, insert table. So over here, I've already inserted a table. You can see that here. If not, you would highlight the data, go Insert, select Table, and then press the OK button. Number two, we're going to pivot on the field that we're interested in. So we're going to highlight this entire field the way it is now with that many rows. We're going to say Insert, we're going to say Pivot Table. I'm going to select Existing Worksheet and cell G1, press the OK button. Now, when I click on area, by default it's going to go into the rows area because it's a text field. So there it is, and I'm just going to turn that off now. We don't need it for the time being. Make that a little bit more narrow. And now we have a unique list of all the countries. But the problem is we don't have the word all. But here's what we can do. We're just going to go in here and type all, just like that. So that was step three, type all in the row label area, which is right in there. And now it gets interesting because we still have, there's no connection between this cell where we want to select one of these guys. It's just typing it in at this point. So we need to create a formula that will know how much data we have and will also update if we get more data over here. We want this list to grow as it goes down. So this is, I would say, that obviously the trickiest part, but let's do this. We're going to, in the end, create a named range, a formula inside of a name range. But it's always the best practice to create the formula here just to make sure it's working, and then we can copy the text of the formula into the name range. So the offset, we're going to use all of these different functions in here, or I should say parameters. The function is the offset function. These are all parameters of the offset function. So we're starting here, reference or starting point. As you can see, this one is bold. I'm going to put a comma, and now I'm going to say how many rows down from this original reference or starting point. Well, that's 0. We're already in the right spot. How many columns to the right or to the left? 0. And now we're going to say height. How many do we want in there? So now we're just going to use the count A for count non-blanks. We're going to go from here, and let's go all the way down. And obviously we have to go a bit further. Now how far, this point, you'd have to sort of know more or less how far you might have to go down. But I'm going to just pick 5,000 just to be sure. I'm going to highlight all of this, press the F4 key in the keyboard to put those dollar signs around it to lock it, put my last closing parentheses, and now the last argument here, as you can see, it's bold here, it's width. How many columns of data do we want? Well, obviously we only want one column of data, which is column G. So I'm going to put a 1 in there, and I'm going to close off the offset with that last parentheses. You notice how when I type it, the one here at the beginning kind of goes bold really quickly to show that those brackets are the open and the close. So I press enter, and it looks like this isn't working because it says value error. But if we go inside of here, highlight the whole thing, and press the F9 key to evaluate it, we see we have our list in there. Now I'm going to sort of cycle through. You see that we've got everything that we wanted. It goes all the way to the top. So we start with all, Brazil, India, and it's going to go all the way down to the bottom. Now, that reminds me, there is one little thing I forgot to do. we didn't sort this. So if we add something at the bottom of this list, it comes in here. It's not going to be sorted. So let's just do this. Select that cell, right click, say sort. We're going to say this method here. Let's just make that smaller again. Let's jump to the bottom. So we see it's sorted correctly. And now we are going to take this formula, copy it, press the escape key. We're going to go into Formulas, Name Manager, and we're going to click New. Let's call this Unique List. In this area, refers to, we're going to type in, we're going to just select that, press the delete key, paste it, and now we're just going to double check to make sure it works by pressing this little button. Actually, I think I have to do that after I press OK. There we go. Now I can go in here and test it by pressing that, and we see that it selects everything that we want from all the way to the bottom. I'm going to press that again, press close, and now we are ready to go into this cell and attach the name range to data validation. So, data validation, we're going to say list. I'm going to say equals, type in the equal sign. I'm going to press the F3 key to see all of my name ranges. We only have one. Highlight it, press the OK button, press OK again, and now we have our list that hopefully will start, there we go, starts with all and goes all the way to the bottom. So we can take this and drag it down, and we have the list in both places. We can compare Brazil to all, and over here it could be any kind of a formula. But I have a little formula that says if this equals all, we simply do the percentile on everything. Else, if that's not true, it does not equal to all, we're going to do this array formula that takes into, it's like a conditional percentile that says, like in this case, it has to be Brazil. If the data here is Brazil, grab this data and do the percentile values. But it could be anything. Now, we have to test this. Okay, so yes, we're done step 5, the data validation. But to test it, we have to add a new country in here, and let's call it, I don't know, Kevin's World. And we're going to type in 88, and then we're going to type in one more of these. And let's say we're going to have a 52. So you see these values I just typed in here at the bottom. Now we're going to jump to the top. So to update this whole thing, so remember it has to be easy to update, to add new data. So we add new data to the bottom of our table. We go in here. Now we just have to select anywhere in our little pivot, right click, and we're going to say refresh. We could also go up here and say design or analyze and find the refresh button there. So, is it going to work? We're going to look in here, and we're going to go down to the K's, and we should find, there it is. There is Kevin's World. So, it works. Not too hard to do. All you have to do is go in here, right-click, refresh, if you add new data over here, and then all of this, our data validation updates, and it works.